For this episode, I feature my fiancé, Mikko Joy Tan, and we cover on a wide array of topics. This is quite a heavy episode. I would describe it as that, where this is very raw. This is probably unlike anything you've ever witnessed, and I commend her for her bravery in sharing her journey. We cover initially our unconventional relationship. It's been a 3+ year journey, as well as her experiences as a single mother, her take on abortion, as well as her experiences of being enslaved by society, caring a lot about her reputation or what society in general thought of her. We also cover a lot of deep mental health issues such as suicide, depression. She also shares about rape, abandonment issues, our predispositions to nihilism and its many dangers. And she delves into the many internal complexities she encountered, as well as the threats with cynicism, as well as her journey in the Christian life of coming from an organized religion, being brought up with the typical good girl Christian image, and coming out of that box, coming out of that shell, and seeking Christ, seeking real love. And she also covers how she sought validation in many worldly things, such as men, such as booze. I hope you get something out of this episode. Thank you. So, how's everything going? It's been almost a week since we last met. Myra, how's everything at home?
Maura, kanang lutaw ang mga tao.
Lutaw mga tao sa balay. Imong tanan, sila tanan. Musta na sila? Regards to everyone in the family.
Yeah, we're okay. But kanang going through the motions, ganahan mo escapo.
Escapo? What do you mean when you say escapo?
You know when things in life can fuel other people.
Yeah.
But I think kanang looking for people just want people want hope.
Hope.
Every day, something to look forward to.
Yeah, otherwise we'd be in a rut or something. If like mo na mangitag motivation to get up every morning to keep themselves going. What did you say? But yeah, to those who are not aware, this is my fiance, and I was thinking of inviting her also to this since she has a lot of daghan sa insights,
yeah.
Daghan sa
Internal struggles, internal kabuang.
Internal demons, internal struggles, and yeah, timing na sa tingin nato ni cancel, and it so happened na free sad siya.
Yeah.
Then yeah, first time sa din na ako sa left, ganahan siya sa angle kay hayag diri niya. And anyway,
Kulbaksad kay wala na dumingan niya. Siya man ang mas exposed sa public speaking. Ako ang introvert, you know. Support from the background ba?
Ang easy man sa akin in front of a camera. This is also outside my comfort zone. So, what would you like to discuss today? Or free flow lang ta, actually. Regarding kaning mga latest news, have you been like updated with everything that's happening with the vaccine and handling COVID, or
I think as to the vaccine, there are still not much studies on that effective. I mean, the side effects.
So mahadlok pa ka take if ever.
But
like you wouldn't.
Yeah, it's more like, I mean, just in my observation, the people who are more worried about COVID, do you think they can do something about their health? Let's say tambok sila, pero murag kasagaran ang hadlok mamatay kay mga tambok. But then you wonder if they really hadlok pa dyan sila. But mas
hadlok sila mamatay, pero tambok sila, wa sila ipakit sa ilang lawas. So that in itself is like hypocrisy or a contradiction.
But it's more harder to take personal responsibility.
You mean getting to the root of, or like going the difficult path of addressing the sustainable thing rather than kind of quick fix. We're so used to quick fix in the world karon.
Yeah, not say both sides. More of like lately na di kapoy mo workout, so more of ngano sad ko kapoy na mo workout. Sa una kong motivation for working out was vanity man. But
okay.
Then
Kanang pa-sexy lagi.
Pa-sexy, palami.
Palami. Say pasabot palami. Kanang patagad. Kaya sa una, murag katong before ta nagkaila, di ba? You were drawn to Korean men. In fact, single mom and saka like you had a half Korean child, si Josh. Shout out din ni Josh. I hope you're well there at home.
Yeah, I remember that time sa gym, how we met, di ba? Kay lahi how we met. Murag anak mga daghan chicks diri.
Yeah.
Ay mga babae diri.
Yeah, sa katong pagkasabot, we were classmates back in grade 1 actually. Yeah, murag we were each other's crushes. Then after murag just one school year, she went to a Christian school na medyo strict. Then we drifted apart. But then it's like along throughout the years, mag-abot me once in a while. Hi, hello lang. Yeah, murag ni divert jud among lives, like lahi kay may kanang backgrounds na ba. Until like few years ago nag-abot na sad me. Yeah. And she had all sorts of preconceived notions about me na kanang basta na di ba na kay sensibilities na ako.
Because over the years when we were in different schools, he would kanang randomly text yan ako, like, asa ka, kaunta lang, marag mao lang ng kuan perception ako niya, but then makadungog sad ko, nanguman palakero.
Ako palakero, mao na baho akong pangan sa una. Ako isa karon baho de. Daghan nagtuo na giilag ti ka ana.
Diba tanang tao bigaon man yung niagi sad ko. Nasad ko bigaon ng kasing-kasing. Pero tinago lang. More of like dili lang pakita kay babae niya, Chinese conservative, stricto Christian image, virgin image. So I had to I had to maintain that image. More like I was living a double life.
So before you were really image conscious and you cared what people thought, you cared about validation, you seeked your parents' approval, and you were enslaved to that, you would say.
Yeah. Reputation, like I built my reputation, my image nga dapat virgin image yun or conservative para mahalin para maminyo, like minyo jud og insect nga Kristohanon pero daghan day mangingilad. Gamiton ang Ginoo.
Isa na ko anang palakero pero wa jud nako gamit ang Ginoo para mo kuha chicks no. Although
pero los gihapon.
Los. Yeah, actually di man ta maka-kumpiyansa jud kay daghan gyud may laki na tao out there na self-righteous or they want to project their so kanang humot pa pero lahi sa actual. Okay, di ba like gahapon si Carl man to niingon siya na ni-appeal siya church sa una para lang makakuha chicks lagi. And I think that's common these days, you would say. I think you've been a victim in a way because you were part of a church group or something.
Yeah, I've joined.
And I know you've had a long journey and you've shared it, but maybe you could expound on your journey.
Okay, so I was raised Protestant, so every Sunday I had to make church building since I was a kid.
Your family was like the typical Christian family. Yeah.
But then I would always have secrets that I keep to myself. Kanang if you already know, or well, not many know this, but at 7 years old, nakakita ko sa TV may babae laki gahubo-hubo, then I felt horny. So dito ko nagsugod.
You were exposed to porn at 7.
I wouldn't say it was porn necessarily, but it was just a woman and a man who were naked on screen. Yeah, marang feel ko, namiga ko.
At 7,
At
bata
7.
pa ka.
But then, yeah, then there ako start like, I would masturbate and feel ashamed, but I didn't know the term masturbate that time yet. And then it got worse. I would say, like, mao na murag mas makasugakod ko mga laking sa friends sa high school ba who are more mo story about porn, pero ako hilom-hilom ra ko, pero katawa with them ba, pero kunuhay di kasabot, di ka relate, kunuhay innocent.
Paas-if lagi. I think also na karon ang paas-if.
I would have messed up thoughts,
or
like
paas-if.
I would go to church on Sundays nga, suddenly sa akong utok nanay maghubo-hubo nya, namiga na ko, then I'll be like, naamo ko simbahan kay hanan ko murag holy dili maghuna-huna ani.
Pero medyo lagpot sa na, like someone of your external appearance, kay di ba tanaw ka ni Mikko, mura biya siya tarong, buutan, Christian, pero it's rare to find someone who would open up na nihagi day sila kind of masturbation issue, or even at an age of 7 she was already hooked on that. So I think that's common na, di ba, kanang babae na classmate nato na muingon sila kunuhay na they never masturbate, but I think it's more common than we think. Bisan ang babae mamiga or masturbate sa.
Yeah, maybe where I came from, you're seen as a like sa akong culture siguro nga insect niya kasabot man ka anak na image conscious.
Image lagi na ang babae disente, dili dapat maging
you're not supposed to hang your dirty laundry, and I really kept it like from masturbation ni graduate to porn, so ni grabe nga mo try ko search sa Google how to quit cold turkey, because I think it became an addiction na where bisan bored, bisan sad, happy, like
so
I look for it.
Reached a point na you were addicted to porn, you would say?
It reached a point na I had no control and it would take over my time. Like I wouldn't even think about it at night, then suddenly I'm gripped with lust. Then it's just like I really have to watch. And I would hide in the matago ko sa CR, manglock, para lang makatanaw ng porn. Like it takes like 6 hours. Because I can have like even in gaming or whatever, like it could consume me. And I just needed that hit, and I never told anyone about it because I'm a choir member in church.
Or hadlok ka sa wayon siguro, like weird na siya.
Well, I did try to open up about it to my mom, but more like in a third person way.
Kanang imong friend.
Like what if na babae kanang kusumulok-lok?
Pero ikaw de ito,
and
so
see her reaction. See her reaction about it, but it's like women shouldn't be, but naman sa siya yung own struggles that time with my dad, so in hindsight nakasabot ko siyang reaction. And I even had images in my head na murag musige ko pangayog pasaylo ba sa Ginoo nga murag kuanjud ko, bigaon, tabangi ko. I was focused on the sin. Mag-imagine pagali ko nga one day na ako sa langit niya, dako nga screen. Then tanang tao makakita sa akong binuhatan.
So you would say na imong upbringing generally religious, kay that's a very religious like outlook.
It's more like keeping up with appearances.
And it's like a performance oriented like outlook to like kanang i-projector sa Ginoo kung mamatay, or kanang heaven and hell na kanang perception.
Yeah, I really cared
like
how people
pearly
perceived.
gates.
Yeah, I really cared how people thought, what people thought of me.
So it's image driven and performance driven.
Performance, just kanang kung nakasala mo nga pasaylo, or but then I always wondered whether something was wrong with me. But then I went through a point where I embraced it, like murag bigaon man jud ang tao. So I would go on, masturbating, humping stuff.
This is throughout high school to college.
Yeah.
Also
Even from
elementary.
7 to college, before I had an experience on. So pag December 7, 2013, dira na ko nangita unsa man jud ang higugma. So I wondered unsa jud ang love, because I always fixated on finding the guy to marry at 23. Sige ko basa-basa og mga thought catalog, like how to,
mga cliche magazines
cliche,
lagi.
cliche shit.
Kanang how to get a guy to like you.
Yeah, how to keep him from cheating, how to know he's a cheater, mga inana, mga red flags
So you
to
would
look
say
in a guy.
you were an insecure, naive, fragile girl when you were growing up, who had some internal demons na you were also fearful na yung i-share na basin na i-backlash or di makasabot mga tao.
Yeah. And it came to a point where I struggled with it. So, marag nakasay na jud ko ba nga na ko'y problema. But then I didn't know how to fix myself.
What did you see as your problem?
My porn addiction.
Porn addiction.
Look addiction.
That would take
That
hours.
would, eat my time. And there's just that insatiable need. Like it's an insatiable
Like you need to fill
need.
a certain void, or
Yeah, it's
there's
like,
this lack that you need to keep. Like kailangan i-refill sige. Nga di gyapon ma-complete.
Something that makes me feel alive, I guess, or more joy.
So in a way, that's impulsive pleasure that you wanna, similar with alcohol or whatever temporary vice or that we get into that gives us that
also became
that high.
Also became dependent on alcohol.
At some point, so you went through
in my life.
porn addiction and alcoholism in a way.
People would say man like,
growing up.
people would say to me, di man ka alcoholic, kay dili man ka sige magpahubog. So ako ginagitest whether na ba ko'y problema sa alcohol or what. So 3 months ko ni go without alcohol. First week marag kay man wa man ko'y problema. But then naka-notice ko nga mga nako og sweets or mga juice, and I didn't really, di man ko tig-inom jud og sweets or di ko mga mo crave og juice ba.
Yeah.
For that time nangita na ko og sweets, juice. So I saw it nga murag I was deprived of alcohol.
Pero di sa lalim, no, na you would share these things because it's not common. So I would say na this is like a brave and noble thing to do, but to be this vulnerable and honest about mga inaan. Kaya diba usually mga babae ilang man na itago kay hadlok siguro sila di mahalin or di dawaton. No na ang atong kalibutan ron sila project best foot forward kay they want that acceptance ba na dawaton sila kay if they're not good enough maybe like daghan kay what ifs wa sila isalig sa unsay mahitabo nila.
But I think I would still have kanang mga images or prejudice nga hadlok ko ma-associate with certain people pa. But I think the better thing would be to be real about it, to be aware of who you are in the moment, than sweeping it under the rug.
I think it's rare to find genuine people these days. It's a superficial world out there.
Well, I did not become more genuine overnight. It was a process good kay like with kana akong back to katong alcohol dependency. I kept that life. I kept that life before when I would go to church on Sundays, that I was dependent on alcohol, or I would think to myself the way I thought I compared myself to other people nga dili pa man ko ana kapalahubog.
Murag rationalize
ba?
ka.
Like 10 times raman ko nahubog, okay
like,
pa ko.
napay mas worse.
Yeah, murag okay raman ko. So I always had that thinking nga I was good enough. And I had that entitlement that I thought I deserved this kind of guy for me. Like I was always looking out for myself.
Self-preservation,
Yeah,
which is common these
self-preservation.
days. Na good enough ka,
Yeah.
murag mangunay ka, so you look out for yourself, and murag it's all self-directed ba? Na unsa lay may para nimo without seeing like other people.
Yeah, but after breaking up with my first boyfriend, murag in a way he became my world at that time, and murag sat na gid like siya na jud ang iminyo. So me try me nga dili mi mo go all the way in sex kay Christian lagi, pero when we broke up naka-think jud ko sa akong self nga the next kung na makauyab balik ko murag di na gyud ko kapugong iyoto na jud nako ang sunod nga laki.
Yan nahitabo jud.
So
Sa next.
nahitabo, yeah. But to preserve my image, wala ko uyab for 4 years.
So katong first nimo,
But I had a heart that manipulated men. Murag malingaw ko sa thrill of
kanang bukdon ka kay
chat-chat o blocking. Nga kung maganahan sila nako.
na ikaw na imong sin zone or
Yeah,
di mo
like,
reply
yeah, reject
or
them.
cold ka.
Kunuhay, like, siya man ang problema. Like,
Siya ga-pass pero
kasi-
ikaw sa din bait imong
Yeah.
gibira. So I think common sa na kanang pass if lagi like siya may
As if,
nangita na ko niya. Ikaw dayto ni text
Go
mo
ahead.
na pero
Yeah.
imong i-deny kay imong ipagawas siya ibog na ko.
I guess people believe me because I'm naive, can hide behind that kind of image I had.
Yeah, kasi I think daghan siguro, let's say kung hugaw kay kasot, pero daghan jud siguro mailad nimo externally tungod.
Yeah, when people will say, di ba, inom lang kay magawas ang tinuod kung hubog ka. I rode on that narrative that people believe na basta hubog mo, magawas yun ang tinuod. Because for me, that's not the case. I was also, di sad ko tinuod, pero maka-show off ko nga.
I think alcohol, if kanang ilang pasabot, I think inhibitions are lowered. So mas loose ka. Doesn't mean you're more truthful. You're just more audacious ba, or you're more bombastic.
I can bend how people would perceive me even while I'm drunk. Like, innocent, good ni sa bayhan na. Kay bisan hubog.
Pero daghan bitaw mailad
Mailad na ka?
Hilom or nailad ay ko nimo. Di ka na bitang buotan at hilom na external pero wala kibawas kasing-kasing. Actually, man sir na common karon sa kanang mga K-drama or teleserye, di ba? Nadyo'y ka ng karakter na murag abi ka buotan pero grabe dahil mo manipulate behind the scenes or mo pull some strings.
Hindi man sa noon tanan, but ka na
Di,
wary
tanan.
of politically
characters.
correct people. Kanang nice ba? Nice
Yeah.
and cliche.
That's a problem these days, political correctness na people project na murag nice kay sila but they're not necessarily kind.
Yawa
Diba? Kanang nice ang external, ang presentation, murag wow. Pero ang root or ang internals, so kuan dito kanang evil or capable of so much dreadful things na makadamay jud og lain tao.
It's hard to face your monster because that would be admitting that you have to do something about that monster. It's easier to sweep it under the rug. And maybe before I would always sweep it under the rug because I had more better things to do, or na ako'y gipang apas sa life kanang graduate college, maminyo, mangita aning kind of lucky para maminyo
Kanang mo fit sa imong narrative or imuhang kanang imong giapas.
Yeah,
like na ay
basically,
checklist, di ba? You mentioned to me you wanted to find a Christian guy na well-off family.
Yeah, I dictated the terms of what I wanted my life to be.
And you also wanted to marry young, but that didn't happen also.
And I would say, sa akong kasing-kasing, dili jud ko loyal, pero mo say, ako i-sweep under the rug nga, once maminyo ko, loyal gid ko sa akong bana. Like, makakommit jud ko. Pero wala gid na ako giatubang akong kasing-kasing nga, dili day loyal.
So mao to imong projections and whatever surface facade you were like ingrained into or mao to imong paradigm. But throughout the years, there's been a shift because I think I bumped into you many times man sa diba mag-abot man ta. Natay mga moments in throughout the years when we weren't really like kanang close pa. Then there was I noticed like na-adjoy shift ba. Sa una, pakag na pagka busy. Yeah, my perception of you initially before was kanang religious na kanang
condemn.
Or kanang self-righteous na Christian. So mao to, it's unlikely said ato ang relationship na nag-abot ta kay I was also, you had notions about me, di ba? Like you didn't wanna associate with my kind.
Yeah, because katong that time na ang papa sa akong anak that time, pero wa pa ko nabuntis, nag-text pa me that time. I remembered meeting you in Maya. And niduol ka na ko, marag hambugiro vibes pa.
2012 man sure to, nag-abot ta. I think lahi pa to akong outlook, mura pa kong baguhan.
Musta naman grade 1 crush? Niya ang giruan, niya ay storya. Form akong gitanaw. Anak ko, kuyawan ni mo, good tuloy imong cellphone, ikaw akong globe, akong smart, akong
San?
Musta ka?
Tinuod na ni agi ko kanang pinapresko na face. So I think unlikely ba how like we crossed paths now. I know we had like we were childhood like sweethearts or friends when we were 7 years old, but it's unlikely lang ba. But we had those moments like every year, like mag-abot ta once, na-joy ka ng passing moment. But funny lang kay that time you were also like in some
one moment kato nabuntis na ko, then wala pa itaw kibaw diri sa Cebu. I saw you at Lantaw.
Kita ka na ko sa Lantaw, diba?
Nakay ka-date, nakay kasikit-sikit na babae niya. Ni-text ka na ko, like, musta naman Mikko Joy, lingi sa
well, ga-date ko.
Well, ga-ambay sa babae. So, pag lingi na ko, ano ko ga-date mo? Ano ko, waoy.
Day ko batasan dyan. Yeah, niagi dyan ko because I was a pleasure seeker, like, pag nangita dyan ko glingaw ba, marag nabaguhan ko sa akong like status niya. I had access man to pimps and well, call girls, whatnot, but I had those access. So I went through that period of immaturity. But it's funny, like as we went through our different journeys, we somehow saw a glimpse of who we were in that period of time. Yeah, then years later we also met katong marag funeral dito ni Miguel Uano. Then you also got irritated that I was there because I arrived and I was so fresco or something.
Arrived late
and I didn't care, or that's what it seemed
that's
to you.
That's what I perceived, but that was I was more subjective back then.
Yeah.
Where I just saw the form instead of the being behind the person.
So, murag ko anjo ka na ko, like murag na kay sensibilities towards people like me.
May babag prejudice. Ni-build ang babag over time.
Na-reinforce tungod kita ka, like na ako'y kaagbay, na ay whatever stories.
You were a known womanizer in Cebu. Or maybe in the circle.
Yan, ni-add to it based sa imong nakita sad, so mas na-reinforce ang perception. Yeah, then before to be honest, I sort of looked down on your kind ba, like kanang naive na Christian girl na, because the way I saw you was mura kag sheltered, the exposed. So I thought then when I heard you were pregnant, it occurred to me like murag not surprising because murag di man kayo to exposed, maybe na set free, giilad og lucky. So murag na reinforce ko. Then I heard that you're like a Christian church goer, so I thought murag tigadtog simbahan, naive upbringing. So murag I thought murag di jud ni akong kind of person, kay I thought maybe self-righteous imong kind ba, like
It was more.
kanang mo lockdown o kanang people like me na sinner.
I did.
Yeah, that's why namurag hugaw kay na sila, di ta mo associate aning mga womanizer or mga palahubog.
Daghan ko prejudice towards people.
Yeah.
But hinay-hinay na break because I became one of them, like single moms.
Sa una, you had a prejudice
I had
towards...
prejudice towards single moms when I would hear their story na ano ni bilangkan kung saan sila. You know,
nahitabo sa
shallow way. Yeah.
So you ate your words sa murakag na paling sa...
Because it's more, I guess it's more complex than that. And there's many, murag dysfunctionality sa tao, murag siyang spider web. Napay, murag mukatay ang imong dysfunctionalities ba? So mukatay sa rest of your life, sa imong kinabuhi, to how you have relationships with other people, to even how you would work.
Yeah, murag na impact no. Like you mentioned, bisan kanang mo sigig like o bikini pics.
Kinsa mga friends you may choose.
Or for example, like nanay uya po sigig like bikini pics. Like it really manifests ba?
I think we also have that macho culture here. Murag okay raman mo iyot kung laki basta kung babae dili lang.
Yeah, that's very true na. Murag kung laki mo iyot
kay murag macho.
Murag kanang cool, pero kung babae ana murag homo ilong ay na ana kanang murag slut na siya.
Yeah.
Gamit na kay na.
Extra.
Yeah, pero kung laki pala iyot murag kula na niya.
Yeah.
Murag what agay ba? Murag what agay.
Kaya mga Tagalog movies kay usually kabit-kabit yun na.
Oh, di ba? Murag namtoy time sige sa kutan na kaya siguro makarelate ko. Pero tinood na nadako na in a way it's very shallow, but I was drawn to that narrative na murag cool na magsiging chicks. I thought murag kanang daghan murag mabilib na ko. In a way mabaw sad kaayo. So in a way tinuod ra sad katong perceptions you had of me, and I guess tinuod sad perceptions I had of you about being kanang closed off or naive or
perceptions on the surface.
Yeah, at the surface, but nasa daytay ka nang, like I didn't see the being behind you, and right, I guess you were still daghan pag blockages in seeing the being behind me those days. So I guess looking back now, like throughout the years, like we laugh about it na lang with the langpaw thing, or you seeing me in this bubble na I thought I was like so up there na yeah, look back ko maghilas bitaw tanaw, like looking back at who I was. But then I guess part rasad sa journey.
I think naamajud tang how we perceive people ba, or atong assumptions about people, mga bias.
Yeah, daghan man jud biases about naman jud tay.
Or kung ma-trauma ka, ma-trauma ka with one person or one race, murag ma-generalize na nimo talang race. Stereotypes. Like ingana dyan mga insect.
To a certain extent, tinuod man na. Like kanang stereotype na mga insect kay kanang hakog or kanang kwarta jud or negosyante jud uto. To a certain extent, it's true. Or kanang Asians kay mas frugal jud.
It's your I think has to do sa upbringing. So unsay permisulti, unsay mong ginikanan.
Yeah, I think reinforce na traditions. That's why na gap like insect dapat ninyo insect because they don't want to break tradition.
And I think
they don't want that cultural kanang mix ba na mag-merge na magkagubot.
People are looking for their identity yun. Like kung ako, ingani ko, inganak ko. But I think ma-affect sad what your parents say about you. Like this is you. And if you care about what other people think, kung I know it would be shallow, pero naapoy truth to it na if you care what people perceive, you're always living your life trying to be
someone else. Someone you're not. You're trying to be accepted, validated. Like, but that can be like a waste of life. Sad, where you live someone else's, or you wanna attain that or you wanna seek validation, but it's like you defeat your individualism.
That's why in churches I've been to, or going to church every Sunday, naka-question sad ko nga ingani ba sa langit murag boring lagi. Murag parehas ra lagi mga tao. Like buotan, ana-ana, nice.
But it's surprising to see that there are many religious figures na ma-shock ka na mas kuan pa, mas kanang capable of evil or naapadyo na
Yeah, naigitago.
daghag tinaguan, daghag hypocrisies, daghag barriers
Yeah.
pa.
When you, what you keep in the dark will grow.
And that's what turned me off with religion. And that's how I perceived you, like this religious, closed-off person na maybe kana lagi ka na mo sige like preach something, iduso sa tao. That's my perception. But I think that's very true these days with most institutions we see around us, like grupo, but it's like a social club in a way na sharing pero or excuse ra lagi mangitag chicks or mangitag network para na sila ka negosyo. Actually nag-abot man ta 2015, di ba? Like actually that time I was sort of seeking for some answers, so I tried to join this group which you were part of, and I think people na kuyawan si Michael Goho ni sud magsimbahan, di ba? Nato yung mga ni naminuang ni Honghongan.
My perception, like, di ko musod sa simbahan na masunog ko.
Nasa nga na. But that's a very compartmentalized view of kanang being accepted by God, like you have to do certain chores.
That was the world I came from, because actually when I was in Korea, dira na ko nag-seek ni God. I mean, wala pa ko kibaw nga nangita ko Ginoo, pero at that time nangita ko unsa man jud tinuod sa higugma, like what's love.
Kano sa aday ka nangita sa Ginoo in your life? Kaya di ba part ka sa church pero more on
In
compliance
hindsight-
ra to, more on going
hindsight,
through the motions.
I've had questions, but they couldn't be answered. I would be told like just have faith, just believe.
Like nakay pangutanan,
Yeah.
isaway ka like.
More I had
okay,
questions
faith,
nga
to-
ngano daghan man kayo different denominations if
isa ra
God o
truth.
Biblia ra gituohan.
Yeah. Actually, mausad na kay nasa third time when I was 13, like I went to another mag-invite per me man ko invite sa kanang mga Christian institution or groups niya. Like I would go, di ba, usually praise and worship na sa sugod.
So mga ana-ana.
Kanang maghilak-hilak, ana-ana bitaw. Yeah. Actually, that time, wonder ko, like, maghilak man mga tao. Yeah. Then I question myself, like, what siguro ko'y faith, no? Like, is something wrong with me na, di ko ka-feel sa presence.
I had a question also that came in my head when I was nag-worship sa Sunday. Naka-wonder ko nga, ngano kani nga Ginoo ganahan man i-praise, narcissistic ba ni siya? But na-realize din ako nga wa jud ko kailan niya.
Mausap to akong view na.
But I had to shut down that thought in my head kay hala, magabaan ko or huna-huna ani. Like dapat di ko mangutana ani.
Dapat di question.
Dapat mo tuol.
So mura dahil sa blind faith, I think most of religion kay blind faith ba? Na kay faith pero wa ka kibaw
Murag mix among culture sa balay.
dito.
Murag na insect culture o na Christian culture.
Lagi naman na Christian insect culture niya.
So,
in a way self-righteous at na malutaan ko.
Imbis ka matuoran, imbis truth kunta ang gikuan ni Kristo. Pero since na insect culture nga,
So,
ayaw i-expose imong baho. Like don't tell your dirty
so
laundry.
nipake as reputation. So it's still about collective ego. It's not about truth.
So magbuot-buot ang tao, like unsa jud unsay dapat, unsay angay. So yeah, back to Korea, that was when I was seeking unsa jud ang love, and without me trying to define unsay love, you know, sa mga nabasa nako like or mga advice sa friends.
Lagi mga thought catalog as you mentioned. Or
Yeah.
kanang love na transactional or kanang conditional
Yeah, or
love.
I have to have my best foot forward. This is what a guy wants in a woman, so I have to
Yeah.
act this way.
Performative conditional
Yeah,
love.
more naman ko yung pagka tomboyish or butch ba. But guys have told me to act more like ladylike.
Yeah,
Pretend.
di man ka ingon ladylike eh, naman kay pagka kingkoy, tuloy kingkoy side nimo, di ba? Grabe man sa kay og punk o marag you're not really a conformist, which I noticed.
Yeah, punkista days.
Which I think
Chip.
mo sa na drone ko nimo, but yeah. Kaya murag lahi ba? Murag di man ang usual. But yeah, you're saying about seeking love. Yeah.
Yeah, tinuod na about image.
Perform.
Like sa una, dili kay ko ka-relate og mga Pinoy nga mga jejemon. Kay para nako own image na kinahanglan the jokes I laugh at
Sophisticated
British,
or cool.
murag witty. Para people will think intelligent ko. People will think classy ko. Ano, classy.
Oh, okay. Kung katawa kag jejemon joke, baduy ka.
Baduy, ana. But over time, katong after naka-experience ko ni God sa Korea, but more about that maybe later, kay mas makatawa na kong jejemon jokes. Even akong close friend kay pure Pinay, murag coming from my circle, dili na ko ang friendship ba.
When exactly
For
did
me.
you leave religion? Kaya ako, I've always been turned off with religion. Kay for me, murag, I can't wrap my head around religion. That's why I never really, wadyo ko nagdugay o simbahan or nadyo something off na di kay ko maka-comply.
But God
with
could still use that
yeah, because
the church
like
for
with
people
you,
to find Him.
you
But
were
I'm
like-
not saying people are necessarily stuck in that system.
yeah, like murag institutionalized
Part of
or
the
it's
system.
like part of that box ba? Like you're in a box, you're in a community, and you care about what that community thinks as opposed to what's real and true. So yeah.
But I'm saying like God can still, if people are preaching the gospel or scripture, He can still use it. But even bisan asa ka. Okay, so when I left the institutionalized building, Koanto, around when I was 24, because in Korea, nangita na ko unsa jay truth about love, and then I saw this verse.
Kano sa ka nangita truth about love at around what age?
It was around
hit you
2013.
somewhere.
I was 23,
23.
and
This was before your pregnancy.
yeah. Then actually I was already pregnant that time, but I did not know.
Mm.
Like gikan gibuwagan ko sa papa sa akong anak.
So before nabuwag ka, mao tong na-conceive si Josh, di ba?
Yeah, and partly kuanto so that was the time na nangita ko unsa joy higugma na ako'y nabasahan nga versikulo in a room of a friend I met in Korea, and it said, "Love casts out fear, for fear has to do with punishment."
Perfect love
Yeah,
casts out
perfect.
fear, di ba?
Those who fear have not been made perfect in love. So katuyok-tuyok jud to sa akong utok, kay all my life hadlok jud ko sa akong dad, and murag maanan ra ko if people masuko na ko, okay ra na kay love na, even if it would come to a more verbally abusive way ba.
Yeah.
I would take that as anyway, like they're sorry man after, so okay ra, pero ang cycle magbalik-balik. So dito ko sa
Toxic
ano ko,
side na love.
dito
yeah.
ko ka wonder nga unsa man nga love nga mo cast out of fear, ang love nga way kahadlok. So dito na ko sige pangita. Then nakalit ra ko nga na-addict ko og Biblia, kay sa una di gid ko mubasa. Mubasa ko pero nailahi nga motive. Basa ko para feel ko holy,
Para magpa-bright, na more knowledge.
na ma-share sa akong mga Christian people, Christian group.
Pero wajay actual
wala dyan
transformation
nag-seek.
sa
Yeah,
soul.
wala dyan nag-seek.
Para marag knowledge, pero wajay ka ng actual life impartation,
Yeah.
di ba? Or
So
life application.
Dito ko sa Korea na addict sa Biblia on my own, like nobody told me to read. Nangita ra ko, nipalit ko. So which led to December 7, 2013.
You're very specific with that day, so that was like a supernatural event in your life.
Yeah. Because
Ako,
people would tell me, like, if you come from a church, that you should remember the day you were baptized, okay, that's the day you accepted Christ. But then I would always forget.
Yeah.
Murag, kanusagan ito. But kaning December 7, 2013, nahinumduman jud to nako. But again, it's a subjective experience.
Ako, di pa ko ka fully relate yun, ana. Actually, pag so good, you actually shared this before. Prangkay, like, I was skeptical yun about that. Kaya pa ko kaagyan ng mga supernatural. Sige, kung imagine, like, pina-Hollywood ba na murag, shh, ana. So, murag skeptical yun kung may But I also saw, like, whenever you tell that story, naa sa joy conviction, like, you're really firm ba? And it's really consistent, like, way usab-usab. And like, I don't doubt subjective experiences,
but it's
I
not
see,
for everyone.
Yeah, I think lahi lagi atong individual
There's an objective
journeys.
truth.
Yeah, so that's why when I hear your subjective experiences before, like, katong murag kuan pa kay ko, like, agnostic akong outlook, murag di siguro or murag binuang siguro na something ana. But then now that you've told it over many times, murag naaman jud ang conviction nimo ug ang murag naa jay murag it's really there, it's firm and it's consistent. And I see ba na murag you're not telling it to just for attention or
well, no, it depends who I open up to it about. Like, dili gid ko mo say, hala, believe in God, kay tinuod, mao ni akong na-feel to usad mo ha.
Sad na, maka-allergic na ko sa mga religious people ka na mutuso bitaw sa ilang beliefs or ilang strongholds na dapat ani. Kung di ka mo sunod, murakag ka na hugaw na kayo. Na, I think that's the big misconception about religion or even Christianity, because I've been reading up more about Christianity, and I saw that core Christianity isn't performative. It isn't
relational.
Sige kayod para ma-accept ka. Pero I realized, like, that's why, like, Jesus here was crucified, ni-resurrect siya to pay for that, so you don't have to
ngano mo sunod kag tao nga di nimo kaila.
Yeah, or I saw ba na Christianity is relational. It's not performative na mo sige ka kayod para dawaton ka, kay di man jud na mahitabo, hugaw man jud ang tao, di ba? Bigaon man jud ang tao, like you said, hugaw man atong kasing-kasing bisan unsaon pa binutan so kapulike gyapon na, di ba? As you know, like,
no, it's more like people do evil then human mag-guilty sila, so mo compensate sila, mamawi,
pero
balik na sad, mamawi na sad, then ang evil mo sige biya build up,
like, let's say
deception mo sige biya build up,
like, makasala ning tower, like, feel niya sige siya masturbate or sige siya pangaway or sige siya kanang pamakak, so mamawi siya, magkunuhay buutan siya, mag-charity siya, so murag wa na kahumanan, performative na. But then mo to akong na-realize na Jesus Christ, kaning pagdawat ni Jesus Christ, it's really about that unconditional acceptance ba, agape love na murag kanang he loves you,
ipakamatyan ka bisan makasasala ka.
He died for you in spite sa imong kahugaw niya. He wants a relationship with you regardless of unsa ka, pero willing ba ka mo surrender lang and repent, murag ingana ba. But it's a journey, di ba, na di man ingon na dawat ka, limpyo na ka, mo na bigli sa lagi ng testimonial, like, changed man niya. Murag ay ma-appear niya, di na jud.
Usually people can only tell of their changes after meeting God, pero dili jud ka kahir na sa bati jud.
Murag ang i-project lagi sa tao ka ang good side na sa story for me. Which is it's a common human thing na murag ka ng appearances or external driven. Yeah, it's been a surreal journey.
Challenging.
Yeah, but initially, sa katong maybe wakibaw, I was skeptical. Like, I thought you were trying to like, impose some religion on me. But then, nagkausap. And also Christian apologetics was able to help me out, like objectivity in Christianity. Like, I realized it's not a blind faith na you just believe without understanding, but it's actually based on evidence, like based on the resurrection itself. Like, we look na tinuod ba jud na there was a figure named Jesus Christ who came into this world about 2,000 years ago. The history books, there's enough evidence to prove na Jesus Christ na nianhi, and he was crucified, and all of that, all of those stories happened. So I found out, like, Christianity is complex, it's deep,
Like ang Bible, it's full of wisdom. So it's not like some kanang lamo na folk tale na kanang murag hinimo ra na legend, and there's really, it has a lot of depth. Like ang tao mo tuo man gani na Julius Caesar or unsa di na nun mo tuo og kaning kuan Jesus, di ba? Kay it's mao man tong giingon ni C.S. Lewis, like I read Mere Christianity, like it's either Jesus was a liar, lunatic, or he was telling the truth, he was Lord. Dili sad likely na murag buang siya or baka akon. And I think based sa history, murag it stood the test of time. And murag it's really all about agape love. That's how I perceive Christianity, like unconditional acceptance. Na ay kanang redemption, or like it's very murag, it leads you to real freedom. Like we get into that definition of freedom na, diba, ganahan ta ma-free, but sometimes we're also enslaved by our passions. Na murag ganahan ta free to do what we want, pero usay mo backfire, or usay like ganahan ta do what we want, but it doesn't really like help us in the long run. So that's when I realized like real freedom is actually having that control or that capacity to do what you ought to do the right thing. Kaya mo yung ka free, like sige kag ingon freedom, buhat ko, magsige ko pang chicks, or sige ko pang do what I want, like
it's still enslavement.
Gasto, it's still enslavement. You're still enslaved by certain passions. So it's not, there's nothing freeing about that.
Yeah, so that was, so then kato akong experience kay when really simple ra to, like I was in a room and I accepted Christ in my heart. Niampo lang kung kuan nga kung tinuod bagyod ka, like ganahan ko mudawat nimo sa akong kasing-kasing. Then human ato kay subjective na ni, but nakadungog ko na Christ spoke to me. He said, Mikko, pag-ingon niya sa akong pangan, mura man igtaw nakaila jud nako. Mikko, I love you unconditionally. Because katong time nigawas man gyud tanan baho about me nga wa jud kibaw ang mga tao ba kanang luklo or kung sa kong kahugaw niya. Murag I came face to face with it, then naa ko question nga kinsa pa may mo love nako. Because it's always best good para maka-find og asawa, to be accepted sa parents, maka-find og maminyo anak. But then that time, I came face to face with the things I've been suppressing, like all my demons. Nga napabay makadawat nako, napay mohigugma nako. Then that's when I experienced that Christ, when He spoke to me, I love you.
Na nadawat ka fully, na di mahatag sa kalibutan.
Yeah, then I knew that my past, present, and future sins were paid for. Then anak ko, mao day niyang higugma. Like mao day niyang higugma nga di gid nako ma-find sa kalibutan. Di na ako ma-find sa akong ginikanan, sa mga friends. Because people are limited, di ba?
Limited, yeah, di ba? Frustrated.
How people advise you, how people advise you is just based on how they cope.
Usahay ka kana lagi mo advice ang tao based rasad sa
ilang nahibaw-an rasad
or limited ang perspective, or say ilang advice ganan lang sila ng bright si paminaw pero wala sila kasabot ni sa sulod.
Ang lisod jud ka na muhatag kag oras sa tao, kanang musud jud ka sa ilang kinabuhi.
Genuine ka na empathy, lisod kay kita mangunay murag ko kay kim mo na sa Chinese, like self-preserve, like unahon ang sarili.
That was when I experienced freedom, because my porn addiction,
real freedom.
Yeah, my porn addiction and akong pagsigiglo kay na free ko ana. He showed me His power nga 2 years wala ko lulo og masturbate. Pero after that ni balik, pero dili na kanang grabe jud like before.
Yeah, so you're saying you still struggle, of course.
I still struggle, more of like, but I have a choice to resist. Whereas before I was really like,
truths.
I can't control jud myself.
Yeah. Because I think mao nang perception ba, like once dawat na mo sa Kristo, lahi na ka. Pero
Yeah.
nagyapon ang struggle. I think
Nagihapon ang struggle, but gipakita ko niya sa 2 years na wajud ko.
niya usay mahog sa Jude, di ba?
Sa 2 years to wala. But after that, nibalik. But dili as like, pero na ko'y choice nga mo resist. Dili ka to sa una nga na kanang bondage. I don't know how do you call that? Enslaved.
Bondage ka ng rag. Di Jude.
Like I can't control it
Mapugna.
no matter.
Karon mas nanay awareness and mas nanay.
I have a choice to flee.
You can go on
Or-
mabarugan in
or fall
to do
into
the
it.
right thing.
So when I fall into it, I know it's my choice.
Yeah, so
Pero man nakakatawa sad ko kanang pag-masturbate stulti ko someone na katawa ko na midway look kay nakatawa ko ba
midway. So kung sa paglulok.
like while humping surface, yeah, nakakatawa ko kay ko grabe no, bisan pleasure kinahanglan pa ka mo perform ba.
Perform. Yeah, I see.
It's just a funny thought, but
Yeah, performative gyapon. Okay. Yeah, pero you're saying na ang struggle na marag ongoing kay akong perception lang for me subjectively. Like I think as long as we're human and we're in this mortal and fragile, broken world, I think we're predispositioned due to the sinful nature na atong ang evil sa atong kasing-kasing na natay inclination mo hope
yeah,
hope
naapoy suffering jud ang life.
Yeah.
Pero naapoy suffering nga tungod ba sa imong kabuang nga ni suffer ka.
Yeah, that's what I always say na di ba?
Ngano man ka ni suffer tungod sa imong kabuang or suffering lang gid ang world ba? If you're gonna be specific
I
about
think everywhere
suffering.
there's suffering, but you can do something to minimize or eradicate the suffering.
Yeah, because
based
some
on
use their
maturity.
suffering as victimhood mentality.
Like what? What example?
Murag ilang suffering ila sige sulti nimo nga hoy na ako'y gibati ko so go easy on me. They use it ba as a crutch. They use it as a crutch nga ayaw lang kayo to get what they want. So they can use their suffering to manipulate. They use their suffering to manipulate people. Paluoy, guilt trip. Murag sakit kayo to imong gibuhat na ko so you should treat me like
So
this.
ang tao
Treat me better.
compensate na lang niya magkuha ang gusto.
Nya magkwenta-kwenta og suffering like murag mas ni suffer ko kaysa
Ang
imo.
degree mas grabe man ako, dapat mas masabot ka
Yeah,
na
so there's no
relative.
like taking responsibility.
Yeah.
If you're suffering kay tungod sa imong kabuang, like unsaon man na nimo.
Yeah. Sakto choice pagyapon. But anyway, yeah, that was my perception jud na kana performative ang kuan ang relationship with God and so I guess nausab akong how I view like Christianity. So how else have you been like lately? Wa naman kayo tayo kita no. It's been days. How's Josh doing?
Kaya kanang
Myra.
mas
Nakita
maayo
ko
pa
na-
yung math na ko.
May naman said siya ng chess, di ba?
It's been my brother who's been tutoring him and I take over on Tuesdays. But even the kanang being there as a parent, I still marag lisod sad.
Yeah, going back to that like responsibility na ka-mention dito. Because what also turned me off with becoming like religious or becoming Christian kay I thought it would make me like mawa akong drive to work, mawa akong drive to like achieve things, although okay raman jud ng mga achievements of course, pero I think that was what blocked me from like becoming or like opening up to Christianity kay because of that perception na maybe matapol or daog-daogon sa tao, tama-tamakon lang sa tao. Mga to akong like babag ba sa ina. But then I see lisod man sa day ang kanang murag carrying that. Take up your cross. There's something about that. It's not easy to claim to be a Christian or like try to emulate Christ, because he was.
It's not easy to take the real responsibility for your internal monsters.
Yes, like to actually emulate Christ, it's really brave and it's a really alpha thing to do to do the right thing, the godly thing, the Jesus way.
I think admitting your weakness, or admitting a weak ka.
It's hard to be fully vulnerable or to actually face your monsters.
Okay raman nga dili ka mo share sa truth about nimo to other people kay basin di sila kibaw saan nila paghandle sa imong i-share nga tinuod.
Yeah, so there's discernment also on how we go about certain responsibilities.
But it's different when you're paranoid about it. It's different if you're paranoid about not sharing your darkness.
Yeah.
Kay naay cost.
Yeah, I think that's what we all struggle with if we try to be Christian, because I wouldn't like.
There is a cost to
telling
the truth.
Like if you speak truth, makontrahan ka. If you do the right thing, like sawayan ka, KJ or murag na naman, di man siya makisama. And I think that's also kinda a problem with collective ego or tribalism or that herd mindset. People go with a popular choice, or people just wanna associate with what society dictates, and if you shift to individuality or you express individualism or whatever strongholds na you have your convictions, or you're seen as an enemy or seen as someone to be shunned in a way.
That was the fear of my dad once sige na kong storyas tinuod. He said, di ka mahandlok mawala imong mga amigo.
Yeah.
Then I just thought, okay raman mawa, basta magkatinuod. Of course, I had a fear because sa una mo post ko sa Facebook, nasad ko like ganahan ko daghan likes.
Common man tuloy na storya.
Like, unsa man i-post para ma-like sa mga tao, or unsa may lingaw i-post. So even if it's as shallow as that, I had a fear nga kung post na ko like unsay tinuod or unsa akong kay mugamay na ang likes. And I didn't even want to face that thought.
But you struggled with that, but now.
Yeah, I didn't even want to face that thought, but I like, kamabaw.
But you're not as enslaved to that na, like, caring about likes. It's more on quality lagi over quantity.
Yeah, more of the quality of likes, like, bahala ang ginagmay basta tinuod.
Yeah, I went through that set, like, paki lagi ko what
bahala
people think,
basta tinuod.
or ganadyo ko na associate kunuhay daghan or daghan ko kaila.
But I could relate to you, like in your when pag-niadto ko sa imong birthday, like daghan tao.
Yeah.
Ana man sad ko before nga daghan tao sa akong birthday.
Like it's about the grandiosity.
Malingaw ko nga mag-host ko, like oy bye ana,
or like
ikaw life of the party.
Yeah. Kanang mura kunay daghan ka kaila, but then you realize unsa man sad ang depth in each of those relationships. So I think that also comes with realizing what's essential and what's truly kind of value sa atong life.
So you can say sad nga there are a lot of relationships nga mostly or mao sad na akong fear gani sa unang momento og Chinese nga laki kaya usually womanizer or naji mistress na kabit.
Yeah. Did you feel that about me?
I went through our bumps.
Any specifics? Never mind. No, like, okay, it's up to you, but I'm fine, Troy. I know we went through our bumps. I know I fit that bill.
Kaya naman siya kanang pagkamayang laki sad nga kung makauyab ko, serious jud ko alangan ana. Pero kung man naman sa time nga ako hapit ko hugugutin pero wala na sama na di gyud mo to ana maiwan sila ba like
kanang loyal jud
like sorry na
kanang di jud kuno hay madam
kanang mga cheaters mo say like accident di ba
di jud na accident
alangan pas bilak
choice jud na manikas or mo cheat alangan
wala na akong sigurado ka ana pero kay naman ay okay like knowing from me nga dili loyal nga kasing-kasing pero na put into action jud katong time nga na feel nako nga exclusively dating pa man me that time. Mao na wasan ko kasabot og labels ba, exclusively dating kay ma-twist-twist ra pod sa tao.
Man sa nang klaro sa una.
So that time when he was in
naman ko kanang image.
Where were you? Yeah, nilarga ka ato. I felt man nga he was very tuok with me ba. Thinkers are doers di ito. So kibaw siya unsa siya nga how ka mo cheat or mo sleaze talk with women. So
the thinker is the doer so mo.
That's why he was also
projecting.
like more tuok towards me. Mao ta mga feel so paglarga niya naapod ko yung ganahan ko mo eskapo pero akong i-justify nga anyway ako man sad mga kaila akong kuyog wala guri mahitabo. So
sa club lagi
ato ko sa club pero nanak sa akong kasing-kasing ganahan ako mo eskapo pero kunuhay nga di ra lagi nasipyat di ba?
Yeah, I understand and it's happened in our journey and I know we went through a lot of ups and downs and discoveries.
So even to that in that club I would moana ko nga nani lucky basin di raman kay gwapo so safe ra guro na siya.
Mao man jud na ang pag-rationalize okay ra siguro. Yeah.
But then one thing would lead to the other and
I understand.
napato like consult ako og friend like na ako type sa sud okay na rin siya unsa may yung status ni Mike ano ko exclusively dating ano siya okay ra na ay di mo man mo uyab hingo mo ba unsa jud ay pasabot sa okay ra na ay di man mo uyab di ba and that was really one of the things nga lisod doon ako kay with a Canadian man abot na jud miss cut rate yeah, usually I consulted with a few guy friends about it but what more to one of the supernatural things and even though it led up to that because knowing myself na paslak na ang tagid to yeah in my head kay
all the way
in my head kay niampo ko ato
yeah
tabang manisud not to be cheesy but nisud siya sa akong hunahuna bisan hubog ko that time
you thought of me like that
yeah that's
thoughtful
then I pushed him away and
he went home.
He's trying to manipulate me and
to like get back to
but that was the first victory for someone like me who's been through Tinder.
In a way, humok ka before like people pleaser man ka, di ba? You mentioned na
people
eager
pleaser.
ka please ang tao.
Dili ka no.
Yeah,
nako ano nga di ko kadi. So musod ko sa una sa like I would musod ko like Watsons na sales lady ma'am. Palit ko
makapalit ka. Kaya maikog ka sales lady.
Kasi no ba?
So that's like
that was what Chef was saying kung mabaligya ko laway. Mura jud ipalit.
Sinabi nga kanang ego driven kanang maikog sa salesperson ba or kanang nasa ibalik kanang if ang salesperson di mo tagad ma-challenge ang buyer so palit ko na nun niya tanan wala yung red foolish thing
so yeah mao to then
kining tao bang ego-centric
then the time when you cheated I know like not many like to talk about cheating
okay about
people think di ba
yeah the time I cheated yeah 2018 to because I was more kumpiyansa sa ko
mindset that time
kaya daghan man ko kanang empleyado kung sa'yo ma-hire kanang mga bag-o na sales niya mga Christmas parties mga to those times niya kanagon I think madapa ko ba kanang mga sol-sol sa tao like hatda uli sir or ano kanang then mara ko mo justify like man say hard niya mara sa ko mo please po sa akong mga empleyado. Yeah, and I think paradigm of most men ngano mo cheat sila in my case subjectively like why I would like do cheating it's really a self-directed thing like mag ako lang di ko na una to like boost my ego or to make myself feel better like kanang I'm the guy and murag bitaw kanang mabaho bitaw siya na murag imong i-feed lang kanang carnality ba. But I saw sa destructive loop sa na and it's a meaningless thing right you give into momentary impulsive pleasure but it's also detrimental to imong character But then mauto, cause that time maraman sa ko pinamay laki na ba, may di man ta kailangan anything. Right?
Basta mamay laki na gani, mahugno dyan.
Dito na katawanan ka ng muragod ka tong no other woman na salida, Derek Ramsey, katong love triangle, diba? Sige, ingon pagsugod sa salida, never ako nag-cheat or something. Ana siya ba? Mao na dahil to katong Christine Reyes and Curtis na love triangle. So, di chuta ka kumpiyansa, pero mo na, lisod, daghag temptations. Like, honestly, in my industry, in my circle, kanang di ba, mga car show, daghan yung mga model-model, yan, yung mga ahente na usahay, batanon, yan, usahay uhawsat. So, na-adjud na, mag-part jud na. But then, yeah, hopefully, we're able to overcome such meaningless endeavors.
But to understand both sides, there's also the pain of betrayal and deceit. And there's also trying to understand nga naman i-cheat ang tao.
Yeah, pero lisod na.
Without taking it personally.
Usually, if you get cheated on, it's also victimhood. Like, how could you do this? Di ba, mama, how could you do this to me? Di nako, marag-ana man jud ang narrative. Without fully understanding the other person, what led him to cheat or what.
Yeah, could it have been nga naasad ko personal responsibility on my part I did not do?
Or say ka na, maybe.
I mean, not necessarily pagwapa, jud palami. Kay dili sad na ang biga way pili.
Yeah, that's true. Pero complex bitaw.
I think that's still a shallow way, but when you hear people say like, "Nano, nangabit man nga kagwapa ra siya masawa."
Oo, man jud na ko. Kaya naman jud mga mas guwapa out there. It's not based on just external appearance. Naman na yung mga chemistry factor or may serbisyo, etc. Mao na ang usual way mahok ang laki.
Sa tao.
Like mahatag sa lain ba kay uban babae
mahatag sa asawa.
Kay honestly like sa atong relasyon naanad man ko kanang babae na
palami story.
Kanang i-boost akong ego ba niya. Kanang palami pero dili sa ingon sincere ang di pang ingon more on ipa-feel good ko ba. But that doesn't address or help me in the long term. Whereas opposed to kanang you speak hard truths but sakit or kanang big or uncomfortable usahay, but it's good for you in the long run. But I think ako naanad ko ba kanang ingnon og good things niya mura ko ma-validate or then it makes me feel better. So I think that was the issue.
You can also see siguro the value of where a person asa ilang value, whether na ba sa ilang unsay perception nila ba sa ilang value, kung lucky sila na ilang identity na sa ilang sexuality.
Yeah.
So in
a way that was my identity sa akong pagkapalaki.
I think that's really na insecurity in it ba.
Yeah, I think most womanizing paradigms.
I really have like different perception like sa sugod namo like kung ang laki musan og nude pics kay na expectation mo say ko like
nakasend ako mga inana na pictures.
Oh yeah, send nude pic to me pero ang expectation niya mo say ko wow hot lami ana sa akong previous paradigm.
Ang usual, di ba? Kanang mga sleazy, pic, or sa pa na pic.
But it's like, I've been there before to fully see, I guess, where it led ba, the relationship. More one way or another, lust will outweigh. Kung sana, mo outwin ba? Ang foundation, lust na lang sige.
But you know what? I've had those or I've witnessed those na ang biga regalabaw sa relasyon ba.
But during that time,
sige ra gamit tay lawas. Yeah, yes.
So I remember that time pindot kay na ako itubang na I forgot what I said na dili lang ko ani.
No, i-go-blow kay na like center ka ng mga pick whatever. Mura magibaliwal lang.
Mo to then those things actually led him to nitawag siyang burikat.
Murakog ni act out ba kay na
Unsa siya?
it was a
Unsa
blow to
siya?
my ego, so murakog nangitag other outlets na murag blow to my ego, so I wanted to feel that. So actually most guys operate that
Without
way.
really, understanding again the perspective, but he wasn't. I know you weren't there yet. How I viewed things ba, whereas mo view, murag imagine na ang tao mo tan-aw nimo ing anak ba.
Yeah.
Unsa ka ilang pagtan-aw nimo?
Like I get the whole objectifying thing and murag kana lagi lawas ra gitan-aw.
Yeah, it's like I think for
Dili
me,
jud ang tao ba ang soul.
it's like you cheapen
sex,
you cheapen the value of someone.
Yeah, kay imo ra gi lumias imong totoy.
But I get how people would think nga it's I don't know validating them.
Kay mao nang
thinking
view
that
sa world, di ba? Like,
I really want you.
Yeah,
I really want you. People want to be wanted, But do you really want someone kung kibaw jud kas ilang baho? Kaya usually ang tao mo
people want what they want.
justify like pwede ang asawa like bigaon man jud ang laki, so ako
So,
nang gidawat
i-condone
ang
lang.
cheating sa akong bana. Kay mas lisod man mo.
mga martyr.
Yeah, I think it's harder. Mas
Roman
lisod man mo
Emulsified
dawat og tao
in
nga.
other ways.
I think mas lisod mo dawat og tao nga kung ang tao, when a person deliberately does evil to you, it's easier to justify and condone what they do. Like, he just had a bad day. He was just emotional. Maybe that's why he did that. It's easier to accept someone by giving justifications for the evil that they do. But it's harder to accept and love someone when we accept the truth nga naadyo'y time na they deliberately wanted to do evil to us.
Yeah, I think lisod na yun ka nang like, ang tao ni kita jud ka na selfish or evil niya. Ma-love pa ba niya? Because I think most relationships are kana lagi murag what can I get from you or unsa man.
Yeah, we justify or ato ra i-condone ang bad behavior sa tao nga murag bad day ra na siya or murag unsa na ay gamit sa mga babay menstruation ra ko.
Gidugo ra na siya. So
Gitugo ra
moody
ko,
and
so moody, hungry ra ko.
hungry kay gutom.
But
Hormones.
ang seeing jud ba nga ni deliberately sila do something evil jud against you or na sila gibuhat na ila ra jud self gihuna-huna like malove pa man nimo.
Yeah, I think my ultimate challenge is to steer clear from that babag or whatever.
So that's where I would say na yun na hopefully ang foundation kay truth o knowing God or knowing Him relationally.
Yeah, I think ang purpose yun sa atong life is to know God. Okay, people say purpose of life is to be happy, to be successful, but I think it's really
when people
to,
say I want
it's really
to be happy,
understand our purpose, which is knowing why we were created.
it's like do whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, it's sort of like a carefree, irresponsible, like nihilist, not nihilistic, but naasadya ka ng direction or aim ba?
Yeah, that's why my perspective shifted, whereas before checklist akong pagtanaw og looking for a guy nga kinahanglan ning ani siya, whereas how we started off kay wala jud tay intention of murag yun in my head ba nga fuckboy nga na puntaan ni na ko fuckboy oy.
Pero atong journey murag unexpected man to kay murag ganahan ra sa kung mamumusta nimo ba. And I was curious how you were, to, di ba? Nagsige na tagkuyog. Yeah, we discovered a lot of things about the other. Yeah, daghan sa ito mga walk-out moments on my part from sa mga door slamming and all that. Yeah, bittersweet na journey with you, I would say.
Na yung mga rigor.
Yeah,
nasa
fixations.
rigor, or
on both sides.
self-fixations that we have to.
Yeah. Fixated ko sa ikaw fixated ka kung ako'y pang-like na bikini pic.
Mahal na mo audit. Sige, nato'y time paranoid kung sige audit. Kinsay, wala gyud di ay sa gipang audit. Mao lang yung biga way pili.
Yeah, I think life is full of ironies. Daghan sa hindi ka mag-expect ba mao din yung may tabo or something. Yeah, it's like it's really a mystery. Yeah, what a journey. How's your plant business doing? Kaya wa naman kayo ko kahapit sa balay kay some issue also.
Some days na palit, some days wala sad.
But what led to that fascination with plants? Kaya nauso man na karon tungod lockdown lagi sa mga tao sige nagpalit og tanom. What can you like say about
I
these
think
plants?
it would have to do with my neighbor.
Pero mahal sad ang mga plants, no? Di sad lalim, di ba? Nakapalit ko katong 50,000 but may mga social na plant, murag ang mga BMW of
Important,
plants.
yeah. They're mga nindot or mga aesthetic. It's now become a hobby to grow indoor plants, and usually kanang mga mahal kay usually imported. Or,
Imported.
pero I got into it when I met my neighbor.
Kinsa si Charmian.
Yeah, in a way I thought it was a way I could enter her life, like naturally, to be interested in what she was interested. So
Really, sa lalim ni imong trabaho, like you say, actually, yeah, you're doing ministry, diba? And it's like not a transactional thing. You don't get anything from evangelizing or sharing to people about Christ or leading them to God. So I think it's a jud na basta-basta na
freely
trabaho.
freely receive, freely give.
Yeah.
Pero
And it comes natural to you, of course, diba? Because di man na murag ahinte ka na magkota ka. Makanin siya ako ni share ang gospel.
naay tay makibaw ko nga akong own strength na pod kay mga performative na ko, and dili na love ang it's not anymore love that's making me do it. That's why makapoy ko or mas mairit ko more with people. And
So you went through that phase na it was also self-directed na murag.
yeah, because I had
Murag may laki na ka sa imuhang pag-lead o
I still had leftover mindsets from the past of or how I viewed God nga dili mao or dili
So napa kay mga murag
lisod mo
box of
change of mind kay
boxy
yeah.
outlooks.
Mao na ang people, ang tao ko no kay predictable, dili tungod kay manghuhula ka, pero kung maminaw yun kanila makadungog ka sa ilang mindset niya. Ang mindset man na sa tao ang mo drive sa ilang life kung sa ilang giapas. So could be nga nay dysfunctional nga cycle tungod sa imong mindset niya, lisod man gyud mo usab sa mind. Even though kita na ka nga imong mindset ni lead to something dysfunctional with people. So ang mas kuyaw kay kung mo justify na gani ka sa imong gibuhat. At least kaysa kung aware ka. That's what I noticed, like when I was aware what I did, like I would look for guys sa Tinder but mo say ra ko nga Tinder. Kay mo say ra ko nga false intimacy ra man akong gipangita kay lisod man ang tinuoray. So kung mahog ko dira nga dapit or problems come up later on, I know why I fell into that hole.
You did not enter
Because-
that blind.
In a way, yeah, like not entering blindly, knowing your motive. Kay ang kuyaw jud sa mga tao yun kay ilaha jud kasing-kasing unsay motive sa tao. Ang motive nimo ang mo drive sa imong
Actually,
life.
that added to my cynicism. Kining tao ba? Kay di man malikay ang pagka self-directed sa tao or like
Yeah,
matata, we think unsa may para nako, di ba? Mangita kog uyab na may para nako,
Yeah,
mangita kog negosyo para nako'y income.
Could be a person was sincere to begin with, but then
Naabay tao sincere kay kana I go through that usay murag.
I think
Wow,
there are people who
sincere
are
na tao.
genuinely sincere, but so you can call that they're being naive. But then when people take advantage of their naiveness, that's when the person gets exposed to the truth of humans who are really harmful. Either they become cynical or they retreat further into just being with people who think they retreat to their safe spaces or be with circles who they think are safe. But I don't think people are necessarily safe, but they don't share about kanang mga ilang isulti unnecessary na ni, or mas naa sila commonality.
Bro, how do we, like for you, how do you go about kanang life ba? Like karon na transform ka kasi na kay spiritual transformation with Christ. But how do you go about the world seeing that it's evil, seeing all the malevolence, and knowing that humans are harmful?
Listen,
How do you deal with
One
that
of the
given
things
the
is to-
emotions you go through sa
one of the things is to be real, but
authenticity?
actually I struggle with my own I struggle with malevolence in a way that I struggle with suicidal tendencies, but I don't necessarily like going about telling people about it. Well,
Yeah,
now that
I think
you
uban.
ask, but I try to talk about it objectively, not.
Mm.
But I know it's my choice nga kung muhikog yun ko. Ako yung choice, but sa una naman sad ko'y prejudice with people nga muhikog.
Na maghikog, like nag-inom.
Nga murag nga no, nag-inarte raman na siya.
Yeah.
Like, or nag-inarte raman na, or weak. But then, akong first attempt, mao na to katong nabuntis ko, and
Kana lagi na ni-react to imong family.
yeah,
diba?
and they wanted to,
The reputation.
they wanted to abort my kid so that I could keep my reputation and marry a decent Chinese rich man.
So when you were pregnant, syempre, grabe ang reaction sa imong family. Kay,
Yeah.
of course, imong image, ang reputation, di nakamahalin. Or
Second, extra baggage,
extra baggage, second hand, or may
dirty
plus
woman.
one, or naay ka ng excess
Yeah.
baggage, mao man ang plus one, mao man ang term.
Yeah, actually that was, I even prayed to God that time, pwede ka mukuha na lang sa, can you take the kid away because I'm not ready. I thought I knew you, or I experienced you in Korea, and so can you give me a clean slate? I thought that was, yeah.
Kuha lang ng bata, murag nagtinarong ako.
Yeah, give me a clean slate to start over.
Pero wala.
But then in the end, yeah, I realized na kana, like, are you ready? Instead, he told me, which I also read sa iyang word na, are you ready to die to your reputation in order you live for me? And that was very difficult for me because I lived my life creating or building my reputation, how I wanted people to perceive me, how I wanted my parents, what I wanted my parents to think about me. Even though I would, do mga napod ko'y rebellious face, pero dili jud something that warrants an extreme case, maybe such as getting pregnant out of wedlock in a Chinese community or a Chinese Christian community.
Grabe man ang reaction. Kanang mga libak-libak, like, hala, nagbuntis ko man. So I'm sure you went through that.
So yeah, abortion was on the table, and I struggled with that because kinsa may mubuhi, like I was still under my parents' roof that time. But so mao to akong first suicide attempt was when I saw my life nga wala naman ko'y reputation, guba na.
But that first suicide episode was circumstantial because of what happened.
Circumstantial.
So tungod like soko parents,
Wala
society,
na ko'y approval
etc.
sa akong parents, or yeah, I didn't.
Or
guba na
kanang
ako.
burden ka,
So I thought-
viewed as a burden.
Yeah, so I thought like burden. So
Hindi na ko mo add to people's problems, I'll just end.
in a way, yeah, that was when I related to people who are going through suicide, and I know it's not really as talked about here.
Yeah.
Though I think nanay murag hinay-hinay na open up mga people about it, kanang nanay hotline for it.
Yeah, pero common man ang suicide, especially ka ng mga K-pop stars, you'll be surprised na ang tao mo yun, nihikog man na well-off man
Yeah,
to sila, sikat, daghang kwarta, daghang income.
Yeah, people,
Even diri.
yeah, or like you should be grateful for the life
Bisan
that
diri
you have.
daghan
Many people want the life you have without necessarily understanding what's going on inside. So I was
Yeah,
thinking, what was the purpose of living?
Yeah.
Or I was, na-adjud ko yung shame that time ba? I was really feeling shame. Like, people will know, kay katomrag ni go full circle na gyud ba kung gitago ka na kusog kumulo or porn addiction. Marag ni go full circle na gyud ba?
Porn addiction, alcohol.
Makibaw na gyud mga tao nga nag-sex na ko.
So you had to struggle and battle with
Then
that.
na pa dyan ebidensya.
Buntis pa dyan ka. So
So my mom would say, like my
there's
mom
nowhere to
like to
hide.
say nga, daghan man bigaon pero na lang ebidensya imuha.
No, daghan man, di ba, kanang pills or ipa-abort jud niya. Live kunuhay a new life. I think murag naman sa tayo friends na ni choose abortion, di ba? Yeah, actually murag nagmahay man sad siguro sila because I think they wish they could have met that unborn child or murag na jud ba, murag mubalik jud somehow sa ilang konsensya or whatever. They chose the easy path or the
Yeah.
convenience and they did not take responsibility for the choices they made
Also-
and nadamay ang unborn child. Yeah.
Also, like, I think last year when I admitted to myself nga, which was hard also to admit nga, I got de-virginized through rape. Or
Through rape.
I was de-virginized by rape, but wala ko ni-report or wala ako ragi condone ba. Kay I was in denial. Yeah, I was in denial nga. But akong gi-justify nga anyway, siya na uyab man mi. So, siya man jud akong
Kato na time,
siya na
you
jud akong
were in
minyoon.
Korea, then
So I had
you were
those-
taken to a DVD place.
Yeah.
DVD place, mura nag
Where I thought it was a wholesome thing because I went to a DVD
mura
place here in my
alohans lagi
high school.
diri.
Yeah.
Pero sa
Sa
Korea,
Korea, na-lock ang
naaday
Murag
pinamotel
na-lock,
na
na
DVD.
sofa bed. So I was like, in a way, there was deception involved because at first I wanted to go to a 24-hour coffee
Lagi,
shop.
mao to gilure ka in that
Yeah.
DVD place niya. Mao na to.
Yeah.
Wala to alcohol, no? Mura-
Wala alcohol.
Pero mura overpower lang ka and manipulate in a way that
I was frozen, you can say.
so you de-virginize ka in a DVD place in Korea.
Yeah. And there, I cried about it after, but then I swept it under the rug. Like, ako man sa choice, kanikuyog ko
So
niya.
imong gikuan.
Yeah,
So
mura
you
ganun.
were like you kept quiet about it and
Yeah, like I condoned it.
imong
In a
gi-justify
way,
na
yeah.
maybe siya na lang akong mabana.
Yeah.
And
Like anyway, I nikuyog man sad ko niya. Yeah, unsa man sad akong gi-expect kung magchula-chula ang tao, di ba? But wala ko ka-expect nga mo go that far like with my ex. And then there would be people also nga mo saying nga, ingana man dyan na ang laki, dili mautana. But I remember the effect it had
What
on
should
me.
they consent? Like
Yeah,
murag gi-
I was frozen and I was
Ragi
like, oh,
invade
what's
you.
happening? Yeah, more like I was frozen and what's happening in my head, and it's like, oh, anyway, never, it's done.
Yeah.
And you know the fear that people will just blame you, and I also had a prejudice with women who,
Hadlo ka sa wayo na imo man
Yeah.
imo man ang binuhatan. Passive ka something. Yeah, that must have been that really changed your life. I think that one incident really like 180-degree or something.
yeah, but I do understand that there could be a danger in using your rape story or your suicidal tendencies as to portray
Paluoy
yourself
lagi.
to be a victim.
Yeah, daghan man common ano.
That's why I also knew if I always like even if I told my family about it, there was a time that you could use, it's so easy to use na imong suicidal tendency to manipulate someone to get what you want, or so they wouldn't tell you. So in a way, it's like making people not be who they are with you anymore. Kay hadlok sila, one wrong, when they could say something wrong, ma-triggered ka into, mamuhikog ka.
Yeah.
So, dili na sad ma-real ang tao ba with you kung imo na gamiton to manipulate. So there's that fine line or the gray areas where you where I have to struggle with that and navigate with hopefully God's help.
Suicide. You mentioned on suicide, I trigger points like when you feel hopeless or meaningless. Yeah. It's something that's really overpowering.
I realized lang lately unsa
And
akong trigger
overwhelming.
points, but I know my pattern na. Like aware na ko kung kanus ako na urge mo buhat ana or na kay powerful man gud ang mind. I really think the mind is a powerful thing, and dira jud ang bisan di ka kakita externally makakita ka okay ra ang tao, pero sa sulod sa ilang utok grabe na nag-rigor na sila.
Yeah, murag
Or
kalma.
di ba kung or knife fights murag yung
Ako,
girigor lahi
sa
imong rigor
Yeah.
lahi akong girigor kay lahi pod, so
Lahi
di
rigor
kita
ang tao.
mag-clash jud ang
Pero self-directed lagi mga rigor sa mag-clash kay murag fixated sa unsay gibati. I think mao sa jutan lisod sa tao kay murag kuan kita ba caught up kay ta sa atong internals na di jud ta maka-see what others are going through. Like even kana relationships karon it's mostly self-directed.
babag.
Like unsa how he makes me feel, how
Yeah.
how she makes me feel, what he ought to do.
Yeah, it's more like I'm sorry I said this, you were hurt, like I didn't mean it, but it's hard to unpack all that.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle. You've struggled with suicide, you've struggled with alcoholism, you went through
I realized
an unplanned pregnancy. Yeah.
The triggers for my suicide was tungod I trusted in ni trust ko og tao.
Where as the trust should be in Christ or God. Dapat na jud lagi ng foundation as opposed to murag si kag put hope in people niya. People just tend to disappoint you kay they're also caught up in their own fixations or their own whatever.
Yeah, like lately
Rigor.
I realized nga akong gidaganan kay kana like with what happened with us na cheating. So I never really faced the fact how can I marry someone I don't trust. I just swept it under the rug.
What nimo giatubang ang kanang difficulties,
The difficult
ang sakit,
question. Like I don't want to marry someone I can't trust. So how do I go about it?
yeah, I think mao man jud na kanang dili face ang deep-seated issues or demons.
So it's like entering marriage. It's really so now I'm faced with the fact of entering marriage, not entering it with wishful thinking. That somehow the person's gonna change or
idealism.
yeah, somehow they're gonna be loyal overnight. You know, it's entering. Am I gonna enter it blindly with wishful thinking?
You won't
Like
be entering it blind.
di naman niya usbon, okay ra na. Like kibaw naman siya, ma-hurt ko, murag not.
So you're open to like certain possibilities.
Yeah, like being
but it's
ready. Like if
being
both
ready.
of us, like also for your part, like if both of us fall or if both of us fail, are we
like
ready
kaya ba nato mo
to forgive
and like
or tell the truth?
force through it or really face it head on? Like let's say mo cheat ko.
Yeah.
It's like moving forward, murag kana lisod nito kana. Niya kaya ba madawat ba or
Ano
kana
dyan na, makibaw
madawat ba sa ego syempre ego
for
man
better
siya.
or twinks.
Mga ingana mo ng mga uncertainties. I think that we need to also face realistically, like di man sa tabuta, like
I think it
like
takes
shit has happened in the past.
Yeah.
But then of course nasa BOD and benefit of doubt and all that.
so for me it takes courage to get married because if
Yeah,
I was
that's
entering
why.
it like before with wishful thinking.
Na murag dali lang. That's why I don't take marriage lightly. Actually, nastoryaan sa ni lahat. Na murag it's not something you just one day
Yeah.
ninyo lang.
Like,
Murag
I hear people,
it's a huge responsibility.
We don't really fight. Like, murag ang basis bitaw kay murag we don't really fight. But then
Yeah.
makahir sad ko nga usually taphaw na bitaw ang marriage.
Yeah, kay murag i-sweep under the rug.
Musta naman ang mga
happy-happy
bata?
lang.
May kuha na ka sa grocery? Like, asa naman? Murag ka na lang gistoryaan ba? Pero murag nakaila ba yun ka? Or makadungog sad ko nga like na makadungog sad kong storya nga abi na ko buutan kaayo mura murag anghel pag minyo nag-aso-aso man ang katrik like demonyo man din yung
most relationships na kay ilang i-project
nailad na rin ako nakuha na rin
etc. Pag nakuha na diha na manggawas, but I think in our case murag bali ba na mga baho murag out there in the open, but then mas nagkakuanta, mas nagtinuod sa in a way. So it's like a different dynamic, and we went deep, although painful and uncomfortable in most cases. But yeah, in Dr. said, like I see said ba the grace, and I see the good side of it ba from coursing through all these difficulties and pains. So yeah, di sad lalim. Pero na marriage murag dili jud gaan bitaw. That's why murag sometimes na koy akong mga fixations or ideals that are a blockage, but I also have certain idealisms that I have to be murag a certain way or be responsible enough na to murag like cannot raise a family or like raise children or murag dili lalim ba, like finances and setting up a new dynamic, a household, or planning certain things, different aspects of it. So it's like dili jud lalim ba, it's not something like ana lang just sige okay na, but it's something we discern and we battle with, and we really internalize a long time. Yeah. So dili kanang lalim.
Yeah, mas lisod man ang laom. Murag it's easy to say ba ganahan ko ing ani nga babay, ganahan ko ing ani nga laki, pero ang magkatinuoray kay sakit sad.
Yeah, especially if kita kanang
nasa work,
like the worst side of a person, or makita nimo ang sa bati jud sa tao ba niya, willing pa ba ka na to go through all those sacrificial or facing those monsters sa other person. I think people are so caught up with the cliches or the sweet or the kilig. Maura bitaw ng foundation mo na mo tank so most marriages kay if like mawa ng sweet yeah, let's say maka-cheat, awa na jud goodbye na din na.
Goodbye.
Or na jud inana. Or it's based on superficiality and wishful thinking.
Yeah, there could also be self-pity involved, the martyr wife.
Yeah, sorry. Like they allow the husband to cheat, but they also spend his money like cheat lang kasi promo akon lang gasto in kwarta.
Escapo through different
like na different mechanisms. Could be travel, could be work, could be
For those kinds of escape kay mas coping mechanisms kay mas nindot raman tan-aon di ba sa kalibutan.
Yeah.
Murag mas worse tan-aon kung palahubog ka.
Bitaw.
Mukulata.
Yeah, like what's viewed as bad sa ato is kana man di ba inom or bisyo.
But they're all still coping
pero
mechanisms.
nasa uban coping like sige na siya kanang workaholic na kayo pero ga-eskapo dito, or kanang sige na day golf or sige na tennis or lahi ng bisyo ba, sige na kuyog gaming or mga barkada niya.
Mao man ang gisay ni C.S. Lewis, di ba? The difference between palahubog and a tao nga sige golf. To the world kay mas aram ning golf kay anyway wala man siya nagguba siyang liver or dili siya palahubog.
Pero similar monsters, but I think the way it is deemed, it's
they're both not doing God's will.
Yeah,
but
I think kanang discerning God's will ang kinahanglan.
Knowing His will goes back to knowing Him. Nakaila ba dyan?
Yeah.
Amigo ba mo?
I think kana lisod na kanang discerning unsa ri dapat buhaton as opposed to.
And that could be unsa sad ka, how sad ka mo ampo, like sa una mo ampo ko dili ko moingon sa akong bako bisan good di ko kakita ni God jud. Pero di sad ko kasulti sa akong bako.
Depende sa perception nimo sa Ginoo, like sa Gini God.
But during college, that was the first time nga ni ampo kog tinuod kay was muingon ko nga nag-masturbate ko.
Murag ka di ka kaingon.
But even
Kay
saying the
murag
word
hugaw.
bisan to someone na di ko kita, like sorry God ni
So,
like
murag-
dili ko kasulti,
Naalagay kay
di ko ka-admit
murag
nga na ako ay
view.
problema ana. Murag lisod gyud ay mo admit bisan pa like dili ka kakita kinsa imong giistoryaan that time.
Yeah. But I
It's
think
hard to admit to the truth or
lisod sa dyan.
admitting that you have a problem or may have a problem. It's easier to justify.
Yeah, it's a challenge to really discern.
It's harder to be objective,
That's-
diba? Like, how man ko kibaw nga addicted ko? Pila man ka oras, journal baron na, pila man ka oras nga galulo ko, pila ka oras nga ga-watch ko porn, hala 6 hours, ana, normal pa ba na? In every day.
Yeah. That's right.
To be objective about it, like with my drinking, dependent ko sa alcohol, so akong gitas kung naabadjud ko'y problema. So,
Yeah, naachot ka tong
3 months ko wala ni try og inom, so sa first month mura pag kaya man sayo naman kaayo wala gyud ko'y problema. The next kay nangita na kong tamis hantod na abot sa part nga hapit na to third month unya na time nag-away ta that time nya murag akong outlet jud kay mo inom. So wala naman to nga outlet, so nakahapit nagakurog-kurog jud ko kana murag I experienced like my mouth was so dry and murag giuhaw jud kaayo ko ato for alcohol.
Kailangan og kanang outlet
Yeah.
lagi. Get it off your system.
Yeah, then that's what I messaged you know man Earl pod my
Yeah. Si
si
Pastor.
Pastor Earl. I messaged him siya pod kibaw sa akong kabuang. Then I told him na gana na gyud ko mo inom. Nakurog-kurog na ko. Like I never expected I really had a dependency to alcohol because people will also say di man ka sige hubog, murag social drinker raman ka. So that's when mao to gibunalan ko niya nga niingon siya tungod akong uhaw gikuan ako man gibalhin sa laki. So more of like our coping mechanism. So kung atong coping mechanism gani dili sa Ginoo, kung atong coping mechanism gani naras kalibutanon dili gihapon enough.
Yeah.
And we will need more. We will have more ways to escape, more ways to cope.
Bro, can someone live a fulfilled like life if wa ka ilas Ginoo? Let's say naitaw wa joy sense of Ginoo, wa joy spirituality, pero responsible siya, like tarong siya, whatever.
I think it would depend what you
Or-
mean by fulfilled. Kay example na may mga Japanese people
Na-
na genuine gud sila mga sincere
Yeah,
or
may
nagaling
tarong
mga tao
na,
nga mas
hapon.
nadilitig
Pero mga sila
simba
yun.
pero mas buotan pa kaysa mga muadtong simbahan.
Oh.
Murag mas tarong pa
So,
ilang life.
depende.
So napod na something to do I think with conscience. Like mo follow baka sa imong conscience. So for people
Right,
jud
tanan na
wa
may
jud nakaila.
konsensya. I don't think it's like a compartmentalized thing. Kay lain-lain lagi tag journey, and although truth is universal, but it's a different journey for everyone.
I think if people just genuinely seek for truth,
Seek for truth, no? Maabot ra jud ka
yeah,
sa
they will find it.
sa tinuod or whatever is essential.
Because I'm sure there are not saying I know everyone, but I think naadjay times sa imong life ba nga tuktok si God or naay mga experiences
Sa
imong
tanan
go through
for
nga.
you, sa tanan nadyo manuktok
Maybe
silang
like
Ginoo.
mo hapit ka na bangga or unsa pa
mga
na
ingana, mga existential moments.
yeah murag wa na kay hapit na kaway kwarta niya nalay na abot murag things
Or
that people
mga unexpectable
things.
unexpected occurrences. Pero mo na, I always contemplate man sa malevolence sa life, like ganihan, di ba? I-share man day ka na ako katong news na granddaughter ni Henry C. namatay kalit. Yeah, murag kuan pa jud sayang kay murag appendicitis dito ni abi siya murag normal sakit iyan.
Hadlok siya mo adto sa hospital.
Hadlok siya mo adto sa hospital niya. Sige ra
COVID.
siya tumor o kanang painkillers para pawa sa sakit yan. Maybe buskupan, something inaana na tambal. Mo to namatay siya. Kita ko kini lagi like anak's billionaire namatay. Nasa to katong amigo sa nako who anak in sa one of the big conglomerates of the Philippines like
Pinsa pa Kobe Bryant.
like namatay sa kalip. Kini billionaires ni kanang billionaire families.
Diba Kobe?
Yeah, si Kobe sa kato kana someone kining mga kanang up there ba like sa social standing, sa wealth, dato, matay ra gyapon daghan kay billionaire, matay ra sad kalit.
Yeah. That's why you see sad importante sad manginabuhi or the basic needs. Pero naanay point nga people are not really going after basic needs anymore.
Pero akong perception is like bisag unsa ka dato na joy limitasyon or nagyapoy ko murag limitation ang mahatag sa kwarta ba. Like bisag unsa pa ang net worth maaksidente gyapon na somehow na unforeseen occurrence sa ilang life. So murag same murag na-joy suffering ba bisan asa wherever we go.
Murag same ra tanan tao nga problema pero lahi ra ang value kay katong nga time naman mi household mga helper sa balay sa una dili man ko interesado jud nga makibaw sa ilang kinabuhi kay nalagi like gap mo like how do you relate to the poor napay nga na ba so mo try ka to be nice pero murag mas nananoy gap ba
kay mailhan
kay murag dili mo equal
na ni plastic ka or pinugos na ni exert kag extra effort mo storya pobre luod na noon or
they can say through the bullshit
murag abi pobre ko nagbinutan
or you didn't even bother to learn their slang or what makes them laugh kana ilang humor ba.
Pero mo sa nasa ko'y kanang perception ba like kanang moingon wa man mo'y problema dato man mo kanang kung usahay na ingana mga problems.
But that's a normal thing for people
Lagi,
that said money will solve everything.
Ako bisan kinsa na joy problema lain-lain lang og degrees of manifestation. Pero kita ko like gubot ang poor families, gubot man sa ang rich families. Lain-lain lang ilang
mo to na I had a talk with akong si Marilo na
yung yaya no.
Yeah, na may as time went on na mas na interesado na ko sa ilang kinabuhi or ma-share na nako akong baho sa dila. More kung dito ka realize na career man to problema.
Right. But kana no in our society ba nadjay barriers tungod like tungod mga yaya diha niya amo so naadjay gap ba so di na nun magstorya di na relate each other.
That's why Marilo akong helper ni sulti nako nga ma'am kami ang mga Bisaya or sige man maglibak sa kanto then ako anak ko maura man sad ang dato maglibak pero mas nindot lang ang asa sila manglibak siguro sa restaurant na aircon kamo sa kanto then ingon siya niya dunggabay man mi anak
sa dato na
magkihaay man sad unya pa-assassinate.
So I think akong take
murag parihar ang mga bikil ba pero
lagi
lahi lang value maybe
kabuang
dato kay yuta kwarta yang Bisaya kay hoy mangikuan gikuha ni mo og chinilas
pero maamor ba ang struggle or mga ang core issues ba tungod ego blow or
they still have money they still have money squabbles but the value lang is different.
Lagi gas squabble siya 100 pesos if kini gas squabble og 1 million murag pero maamaor ang kabuang pobre dato.
That's sa one of my helper yung view man sa if madato siya kay ma-fix yung life ba but then kita sad ko sa iyang habits nga di siya mabuhi way bitchin.
I think mao nang perception sa tao na they think money will eradicate their problems.
But you can see sa small ba nga moana man siya di siya mabuhi way bitchin dan when ka di man ka mabuhi kinabuhi is pobre day kung ato ikumpara makakaon na kung bisan unsa di ba pero ikaw di ka mabuhi way bitchin. Then I asked her nga dili man daw siya makontento og kanira nga lami king ko sige tagaan ti kag chance kaon ka lami nga pagkaon kana rasad everyday yun siya di ganahan pa man ko makatilaw laing nga lami dahil ko so kung madato ka naing ana pa yung huna-huna tanawa karon makontento ba ang mga tao like na like na kay balay. So di ba if may rich people na sila they'll acquire more. They will keep acquiring.
Acquire more.
Marag makontento ba ka?
Yeah, puno, expand negosyo, expand sa bigger house, more cars or more expensive cars.
Ang lisod ang kanang contentment.
I think kanang
Everyone.
contentment may lisod. But I think what may problem ang money. Like of course nindot man, like I think there's no problem in wanting to be rich or being rich, pero I think kanang value system.
Ronaldo to be careful of the love of money.
Say kana lang.
If greed will drive your life.
I think naalang na danger zones ba? Like you fall on that slippery slope and it's already money that's the dominating force or so. Nothing wrong with money, I think, but it's really the value system or say gi-apas ba sa
Yeah,
tao.
kana sad like you'll say altruistic ka mo tabang og anyone but lisod sad mo find og tinuod tao nga angay mo tabangan kay naman say pobre mo manipulate nga pobre mi so tabangi jud mi but naman tinuod ba jud kay naman say pobre nga tinuod jud angay jud tabangon mo na I don't really believe in like kanang the big kind sure it will be good for a while ba pero murag mo depend na so murag lisod jud ang tinuod mo tabang nga mo sulod jud kas life ato like kaila ba jud ko ato nga pobre
so kastorya sa ni Carl gahapon kanang lisod ba ang actual the real health is hard
so kung naay ni as nako like ma'am akong kuan ginikanan na sa ospital kuyugon ti ka
kaya usually
marag kita nga tinuod ba gid or di
issue lang kog check
tinuod ba gid or di
kaysa ni package yun, like, unsa dyan problem.
So that's what my kuan ni sulti pod na ko nga ma'am dali man kay ka mailad sa una mo diretso ra kaghatag kwarta kaya na may helper nga tinuod na pod towards me ba so lahi
so
pod ang dynamics
giprangkan sa ka like gigamit man ti ka sa
gigamit ti ka sa una ako sad ni ingon ra sad ko niya gigamit sad ti ka ni hatag ra ko kay hadlo ko mawad-an yaya
nihatag sa ka isili kay hadlo ka sa hasol ba na muhawa niya
even now
na tagaan na lang sa
even now nahawa pa siya night times mo chat siya mangita kanang na marag nadri if na tinuod na relationship ba mo nang mas lisod na people don't it's hard to marag deal with it ba
so na marag real relationship lisod bitan it's hard to come by I think kana ang value system dito you'll say nadri enslavement kwarta or whatever.
So I guess we're wrapping it up 2 hours. 2 hours a day.
2 hours? Actually, what may limit? You can talk as long as you want. I think. Pero if there's anything you still wanna bring up or whatever.
I guess
anything.
Maybe I found someone na kay sa una with akong ex, marag lahi pa man akong view sa relationships that time na kinganlan kung date kay bongga jud wow
kailangan lang ka na mabuwak
pero kung naaday kay kung
okay ra na
it's okay
hopefully mas may depth
if naaday kay tinuod na relationship bisan sige mong storya bisan na mo sa parking lot or asa pa na
bisan na sa Jollibee or
bisan na sa kanto or akong close friend nga bisan na miss asa man may payag or asa pa ba na
makasina rin sa ang pinagsamahan or ang relationship itself ang maglabaw dyan. Unya, okay rin yung mga byproduct like if makauntag ka ng high-end restaurant
pero makasabot sa budget ka sa pobre marag naman divide like ang dato kung diarrhea kay diarrhea ka kaon jud tambal ana kung adto ko sa pobre nga balay narami Sprite
ang tambal para sa
narami Sprite og kabo Sprite og kabo lang kung
Sprite man
think doon na ilang kuan sa tiyan kung maglain kay
Sprite ang makaayo
but it's like ganahan ko nagkuyog-kuyog ko niya mura kag nagkuyog-kuyog kag tao dili tungod sa location ba
secondary na nindot ra sad if naa pero kung
nagkuyog-kuyog ta
kay kung wala
so it's like the
church ang
yeah.
superficial thing
church means people so murag nagkuyog-kuyog ka kay ganahan mo magkuyog-kuyog dili tungod pugsanay
but I think that's rare to get to that level and I think blessing sad na or grasya if maka-encounter tao kanang relasyon na kanang Nadjoy genuine understanding and genuine empathy to a different level. Kanang we know certain
I know, lisod
truths
pa na ang
that
one
go
heart, one
deeper.
mind.
Yeah,
Mamay as
that's-
masultian man nimo ang taon unsa na sa imong kasing-kasing ug sa imong huna-huna.
Oh yeah, lisod man kay we're caught up with our own whatever fixations like.
Fear gihapon. Hadlok ka na mawala or hadlok ka na.
Yeah,
yung
most of
sa-
us
sa
operate on
imong-
fear. Kasi lisod bitaw ka ng let's say mo angkon ka na kwarta na bilin example lami man ang na may
Yeah.
temptation kwaon jud ng
Mga
let's
to
say
akong
na
sa akong helper nga natinuod na siya,
May kwarta
nga makasay
din.
na siya unsa siyang utok ba. Kita ko kwarta na bilin na. Ganahan jud na ako ikawat.
Oo.
Murag naay urge ba ka. Ako
mas
kay
lisod
nakuha
jud
ang-
ang kanang mo jud iuli kay gahuna-huna sa ka kining kwarta makatabang man ni nako short term.
or imong iuli kay nag-expect pod ka nga na
Or maybe
reward
imo
ka or
iuli kay
validation.
ganahan sa ka na wow, murag pabilib sa lagi uli
Yeah.
jud yung kwarta no.
Again, ang
Giga.
motive gihapon.
Motive yapon sa kasing-kasing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we've covered on a lot of complex issues and yeah, murag daghan sa to. Okay, I think that's not the usual conversation that you get from like a couple like us. You know, murag unconventional na couple kay di ba murag fuckboy or sa akong reputation ikaw kanang
Bigaon in secret.
bigaon in secret pero good girl Christian image sa gawas so murag lahi ato ang kuan ba yeah. We've known each other a long time and we're in this journey and it's like a surreal journey so murag yeah hopefully murag,
Maybe it's surreal for someone who was not used to being real.
yeah kasi lahi man akong
Kaysa whereas naalad na ka being real and truthful. Murag na nature na jud ba? Di ba naman ni tao nga kusog grabe kay kalagot hantod na nature
pero
na
I
gid
think mo na
na.
lisod kay naman tayo ato ang wiring dito mo na lisod kay na i-counter ng wiring kung mo na inaandan like kung ang tao naanad mo buto or kanang sig pangasaba niya wa jud ni hold niya accountable kanang reinforced habits mo carry over jud na niya lisod kay na ma-shift niya di man sad ta kanang mo muayo og tao
Yeah.
or usbon so
So even if
lisod
naka
jud na.
prinsipyo, naka principles and values, even though naka prinsipyo nga sundon or imong values, dili gyud nimo ma-impose, di nimo maduso sa imong nature.
oh
Ka ang nature mo find man jud og way to express itself.
na mga ironies like ako naman ko'y pagka-prinsipyo pero I find out na in some cases ako rasayin mo break sa akong own prinsipyo pero if ako ang ma-wrong sa tao murag pindot kay ko kung akong prinsipyo giguba natandugan pero if ako ang maka-break prinsipyo sa akong own self murag na ako entitlement na murag okay rin so mo nang lisod kini laging kagahig o sa mga tao. So anyway, I think we've covered a lot of ground today and hopefully maybe may impart pero depende kung may maminaw sa dani. This was a long talk but yeah, thanks for doing this. I know murag di ni comfort zone mo but I think along the way you became like loose na. murag na comfy ra ka sharing sa imong experiences. So yeah, so thanks for doing this and maybe more in the future if ever, God willing, we'll see. Any parting words you want to say to whoever is going to view this? You can look into your camera or like leading them.
Unsa ni welcome to my channel. Welcome to his channel.
Pero ikaw, whatever, or like
Thank you if you've suffered or endured this far in watching
yeah.
our talk. But I hope nga naasad mo yung kuha about this or kung wala, okay ra po.
Yeah. Okay.
Free will.
Free will. Yeah, free raman ang tawa ang taga-impose anything. Pero kana, murag, hopefully we seek what's substantive in the world or kana, we're able to filter out all the noise, all the messiness to really
find what is essential. So, thank you everyone. Take care. Ayo niya mo. Stay safe.